we're going to, between the three of us, try and talk a little bit about various activities that we're involved in and approaches to music in particular and related disciplines. Leah Singer is going to start, and then William and I will do some stuff.
Dice que...
And she's going to translate.
Sí.
¿Anda?
Sí.
Bueno, dice que muchas gracias por venir, que van a hablar de distintas actividades que ellos hacen. Va a comenzar Lía, y después el turno de William, y luego él va a contestar las preguntas.
Just to give you a little bit of background, I started working with musicians when I moved to New York about 10 years ago, and
Dice que comenzó a trabajar con músicos desde que se mudó a Nueva York hace 10 años.
And what I did was, I guess I was like a frustrated guitar player, and because I'm not a musician.
Dice que se sentía una guitarrista frustrada, y como no es música.
I'm a visual artist. I wanted to work with musicians, so what I started to do was use special film projectors.
Lo que empezó a hacer fue, tomar su arte visual y empezar a juntarlo con música en vivo.
That were modified so I could improvise with a film projector like a guitar player could improvise with a guitar.
Usaba proyectores que estaban modificados con los cuales podía improvisar con las imágenes al mismo tiempo, en tiempo real, con la música.
So the idea was to have musicians on stage playing music, and the film work was very much presented live because I could use my film projector like an axe, you know, like a guitar.
Dice que se juntaba con los músicos y ella usaba como su instrumento los videos, ¿no?
So subsequently, most of my film making is really film performance, and it's almost 80% of it is done with musicians in some form.
Y los trabajos que hace son como performances fílmicas en vivo al mismo tiempo que con los músicos.
Lee and I have done many tours in Europe and the United States.
Lee y ella han hecho muchas giras en Europa y Estados Unidos.
Where Lee does a spoken word and music piece, and there's film interacting with him.
Donde Lee habla y hay música de fondo y ella interactúa con sus films.
I'm going to show you something, just a very small video of something from San Francisco at the Great American Music Hall, a show that Lee and I did, I guess, 2 years ago.
Les va a mostrar una porción de un show que hicieron en San Francisco con Lee hace un par de años.
And just one other thing, just to give you an idea of how also the film is kind of musical.
Para darles una idea, dice que el film es algo así como musical.
I don't use a motion picture camera to shoot motion picture film. I use a still camera to shoot motion picture film. Just like a...
Bueno, no usa una cámara normal, sino usa una cámara de fija. Sí.
Fotográfica.
No.
Just like just a normal, like you would take a snapshot. So I forced the motion picture film inside.
Fuerza la película dentro de la cámara.
And rather than it, moving like a film camera taking pictures, I take it singly.
Claro, lo hace con la cámara de fotos, forzando el film.
So what happens is when you play it back as if it was motion picture, you get a certain kind of cadence and rhythm.
Da como un movimiento.
Actually, I'll show you something first before I show you the performance, which illustrates that kind of
Les va a mostrar algo
rhythm.
que ilustra esto.
And all of this stuff was shot, as I explained, in a still camera. But when you watch it, it creates it's as if it's a sequence, but really it's just, a collection.
Esto fue tomado con la cámara, con el rollo forzado y crea esta secuencia que vemos.
So that the kind of the way that I shoot film and the way that I present it through projection, both of those create a certain kind of rhythm and cadence that are a little different than just normal 24 frames per second, which is what a motion picture speed is.
Haciendo esta técnica, esto le da como un ritmo que una cámara normal no lograría.
So it's almost like a survey. It's almost like architecture. It's like 3D. It's like looking at something in pieces and then creating a whole.
Como arquitectura en 3 dimensiones, piezas que luego crean un todo.
So that's kind of just a brief example of that. Now I'm going to play just a teeny section of the San Francisco gig.
Ahora les voy a mostrar esto de San Francisco.
Shows you anything, but it's just I think a lot of people like to use an image with a musical performance setting, and the group last night, Capricorn, did a really nice interaction in that way using a visual, and in New York anyway, there's a real attempt where all the different areas tend to work together. Musicians from different backgrounds tend to work together, and they work with dancers and filmmakers, and there tends to be a lot of sharing.
Dice que hay como mucha interacción entre las distintas disciplinas artísticas. Bueno, los músicos trabajan con los cineastas, bailarines, que hay como una comunidad artística muy unida allá. Que a la gente le gusta así juntarse, y que le gustó mucho lo que hicieron ayer las chicas de Capricornio, usando técnicas también de film, interactuando con música.
So I'm going to hand it over to Lee and William. If there's I don't know if anyone has any questions about
¿Alguien tiene alguna
filmmaking
pregunta?
that I could answer. If not, oh, I see one hand.
Si inspiran Luis Buñuel o algo así parecido.
I love Buñuel. And I heard he was a great lace maker. Lace? Like lace? Not knitting, but when Buñuel would sit on the set, waiting, because that's what you do in filmmaking and feature filmmaking. He would spend his time making really intricate
bordados,
lace.
Sí, bordados. Que a Buñuel le gustaban mucho los bordados.
But I love Buñuel. I love a lot of, sort of Spanish, Latin American filmmakers.
Le gustan muchos cineastas latinoamericanos y españoles.
Yo quería saber si ella iba alargando los videos a medida que van tocando, o si es una cinta que la deja todo el tiempo puesta.
He wants to know if it's a tape that you run or you're playing different takes. in real time?
Well, actually, last night, I.
Everybody heard the question.
Oh,
No, nadie tradució la pregunta. Nadie tradució la pregunta para el público.
Es cierto.
well, oh, okay.
No, él preguntó si usaba los films en tiempo real, ponía varios films o dejaba una cinta correr directamente.
Yesterday was a bit of an exception because I ended up playing video.
Ayer fue una excepción porque nada más usó video.
Usually, I brought my projector, but between blowing up transformers and breaking switches,
Normalmente ella también, aparte del video, en conjunto con el video, usa un proyector.
I decided to go with Plan B.
Que se
was
quemó,
video.
entonces tuvo que usar el plan B.
So there were a few tapes. A lot of the manipulation was already on the tape. So
Había algunas cintas, tocó varias cintas, pero ya estaba, las cintas ya tenían manipulación hecha.
so there was a little live aspect, but I wasn't really able to do the kind of switching and interaction that I would normally do.
Había un elemento en vivo, pero no pudo hacer lo que normalmente hace con el proyector y el video.
And I don't know if there was one question back there.
Si se considera una cineasta o una performer.
Well, that's a good question.
Es una buena pregunta.
This is one I should ask my psychologist, if I had one.
Es una
But I,
que le
but I
tendría que
hear
hacer a mi
there's lots of
psicólogo.
psychologists in Buenos Aires.
Si lo tuviera, dice que hay muchos psicólogos en Buenos Aires, por ahí.
You know, I consider myself an artist because I actually do work in many different medium. It's,
Considera un artista porque trabaja en distintos medios.
I mean, I am a filmmaker, but most of the film work I do is in a performance context.
Soy cineasta, pero la mayoría de lo que hago es performance en vivo.
Although I've made like rock videos and small
También.
movies,
También he hecho videos de rock y
so small.
cortos.
So,
Sí, sí, las imágenes me inspiran para hacer lírica porque tiene los créditos de Skip Tracer como visuales y eso lo hace habitualmente.
If the pictures
I don't
match
know.
words.
If pictures inspire words, sure.
Las imágenes son al azar o tienen patrones preconstruidos o repensados para elegirlas.
Come by chance or they
Oh,
are,
the image.
or they are
Uh,
when-
Well, a little of both.
Un poco de ambos.
I tend to, wherever I travel, I always shoot. So I have, images from around the world,
A donde viajo llevo la cámara y tengo imágenes de todos lados.
but I'm also very inspired by very simple things, very everyday, boring
Pero
things,
también me inspiran cosas simples, aburridas de todos los días,
like windows and
como ventanas
dirt on the street.
o suciedad en la calle.
Yo quería saber si ella sabe si ella puede decir lo que trata de evocar con esas imágenes, si ella lo puede explicar.
I'm not sure I understand, but I think it's good for people to look at things. So even things you take for granted, like the windows in your house or something. So it's just, a different way of looking at things, and it's also, the way I shoot is kind of like, your head is moving around and you're taking in a lot of information.
Yo creo que es importante que
Yeah.
la gente mire inclusive las cosas más sencillas y bueno, también tiene que ver con esa cosa de imágenes que se entrecortan y con la movida de la mirada y de la cabeza en el momento de observar estas cosas banales, ¿no?
It's just a different way of looking, like you take fragments,
Es una manera diferente de mirar como fragmentos,
because these days also everything is just a little of this and a little of that,
porque estos
and
días
things go by
todo
fast.
es un poquito de esto, un poquito de aquello y las cosas van muy rápido,
Like outside a car window.
como afuera por la ventana de un auto.
Okay, thank you. Gonna pass it over to these guys.
My name's William Hooker, and prior to my getting here,
Mi nombre es William Hooker y antes de mi llegada,
I thought that it would be good for me to entitle a piece for you, The Blessing.
pensé que sería bueno hacer una pieza que titularía La bendición para ustedes.
I felt that way because this could be this is probably the first introduction that you've had to my music.
Pensé de esta manera porque pensé que probablemente esta sería la primera, la introducción de ustedes a mi música,
To my technique of playing percussion,
a mi técnica de tocar percusión,
to my history of being a drummer that plays in many styles and played with many rhythms.
al hecho de ser un baterista que ha tocado en muchos estilos y muchos ritmos distintos.
I feel that music takes on both the written and the improvisational aspects, and I hold them both in high esteem.
Pienso que mi música tiene elementos de improvisación y de escritura, de composición. Los tengo ambos en alta estima.
And I ultimately feel that this music that I play is a music drenched in the spirit.
Y siento que esta música que toco es la música que está aferrada al espíritu.
The spirit of life.
El espíritu de la vida.
The spirit of a challenge and the spirit of love.
El espíritu del desafío y del amor.
To start off by where I came from, I'm from New York.
Yo soy nacido en Nueva York.
And I've been playing music for about 37 years.
Y he tocado música por 37 años.
I started at the age of 6.
Comencé a los 6.
And I played rock and roll, rhythm and blues, standards, shows, classic jazz, free music, and now I just play what I call William Hooker music.
Y he tocado rock and roll, rhythm and blues, jazz clásico, jazz libre, y ahora hago lo que se llama la música de William Hooker.
And that transition happened when in San Francisco, in combination with 3 conga drummers.
Y esto comenzó en San Francisco en combinación con 3 tumbadoras, con 3 congueros.
2 of them playing 3 drums, and two of them playing 3 drums, and one of them playing 1 drum, and myself on a drum set.
2 de ellos tocando 3 tumbadoras, uno de ellos tocando una y él en batería convencional.
I heard what I told someone, I heard my Earth Mother.
Escuché lo que le dije a alguien como que era la madre tierra.
And at that point I was completely free of rhythm, and it had all been integrated inside of me. And at that point, I started writing my own music, and that was in 1973 specifically.
En ese momento fue como que me liberé del ritmo y empecé a escribir mi propia música, y esto fue alrededor de 1973.
To make a long story short, I feel that the drum, a lot of people know the history of the drum, but a lot of people don't understand that every drum has to be tuned.
Para hacer una larga historia corta, mucha gente conoce la historia de la batería, pero muy poca gente sabe cómo afinarla.
The tune, the particular pitch that is used for the drum's tuning occurs within the music that the person is playing. Usually, with free music, I've taken the approach of tuning my drums down.
En general, yo trato de afinar más bien grave la batería.
That's because in my music, I never use a bass.
Eso es porque en mi música nunca uso un bajo.
If I have a group that plays piano, I try to have the pianist play the entire range of the piano. I want him to become the piano.
Si mi grupo tiene un pianista, yo hago que el pianista toque el rango entero del piano.
Both the left hand and the right hand should be equal. One should never be supporting the other, or one should never be leading the other. It should be a person's heart and mind and body immersed in the strings of the piano.
Dice que ninguna de las manos, ambas tienen que tener como el mismo volumen, ninguna debe llevar a la otra, ni ninguna ser base de la otra. Que tiene que estar como la persona entera dispuesta en el piano.
So that leaves me the only alternative to play the entire drum and use my bass drum to combine with the left hand of the tonal range of the piano, which means that my bass in my music comes from here, my foot.
Dice que él toca toda la batería, pero que combina con la mano izquierda del piano con el bombo de él, que es su registro bajo, el registro bajo de su música.
That is the reason for a lot of drummers here. I never leave, which is traditionally the case now, to put a blanket or a pillow or a piece of sponge inside of the bass drum, because I want it to resonate as much as possible to be able to fill the void that is not there.
Por eso siempre hago sacar todo tipo de alfombras o cosas que se puedan poner adentro del bombo, porque eso no le da la resonancia que el instrumento tiene en sí y que necesita él para su música.
This also is, I also use my bass drum, my right foot, on a steady basis, much as a bassist would be playing continuously.
Por eso uso mi pie derecho es como si fuera un bajista, como tocando ritmos continuados.
And then I use my left foot to accent what my right foot is doing.
Y uso mi pie izquierdo para acentuar lo que el derecho está haciendo.
Much like a dancer.
Como un bailarín.
That's my principle, to dance.
Ese es mi principio, bailar.
And have fun.
Y divertirme.
I say that because we have a divided unit here. I myself am a divided person. I have two rhythms on top here. My right hand usually playing a flowing rhythm, and my left hand free to play any drum that I would like or rhythms on the left hand.
Eso es porque yo estoy dividido. Uso mi mano derecha para tocar ritmos sostenidos.
The left hand is I'm playing rhythms on the tom-toms or a separate rhythm on the snare drum.
Con ella toca ritmos en los tom-toms o un ritmo aparte en el tambor.
This is another reason why I strongly encourage many people understanding how to re-record.
Esto es una de las razones por las cuales yo ayudo a la gente que aprenda a regrabarse.
Drums specifically.
La batería.
They are either a traditional rhythm section instrument or they are a backbeat instrument.
Son un instrumento tradicional, es un instrumento tradicional de acompañamiento o un instrumento simplemente para mantener un backbeat, un ritmo 2 y 4. ¿No?
I subscribe to neither, and I have very little respect for either at this point in my life.
No me suscribo a ninguna de esas dos cosas y tengo bastante poco respeto por esas dos cosas en este punto de mi vida.
To play the drums in a non-traditional fashion is a revolutionary statement.
Tocar la batería de una manera no tradicional es algo revolucionario.
What else can I tell you about this divided person you're looking at?
¿Qué más les puedo decir sobre esta dividida persona que está aquí?
You take these two halves, the top half, the 2,
Toman
And the
estas dos
bo-
mitades, la mitad de arriba y la de abajo,
and the bottom dancers,
los bailarines,
and I write pieces,
y escribo piezas,
usually vocally or on piano.
normalmente con la voz o en el piano.
I will just show you some copies, and I know that not that many people will be able to see these.
Les voy a mostrar algunas copias y sé que algunos no van a poder verlo,
But I trust you will be able to understand them once you see them.
pero espero que lo puedan entender una vez que lo vean.
I have a book approximately this thick
Tengo un libro aproximadamente de este grosor
of arrangements
de
of my
arreglos
music.
de mi música.
This is one of the pieces, and I'll just show it to you. And it's like looking at a painting from long distance. I don't know if you can see
Esta es
it,
una de las
but
piezas.
this is what my music looks like.
Así es como mi música se ve en papel.
For those in the front that go to this school,
Para aquellos en el frente que vienen a la escuela,
you will notice there is no time signature.
se van a dar cuenta que no hay indicación de compás, de ritmo.
For me, as I said, I do not need that anymore.
Yo no necesito más eso.
And the only thing I can finish by letting you know, there's so much to say. There's so much to say about where I'm going now with my music.
Hay mucho para decir sobre a dónde estoy yendo ahora con mi música.
There's so many different projects I want to become a part of.
Hay muchos diferentes proyectos de los cuales quiero formar parte
And so many people I would like to play with.
y mucha gente con la que me gustaría tocar.
But speaking from a person that has played for 37 some odd years,
Pero hablando desde el punto de vista de una persona que ha tocado música por 37 años,
my last comment before any questions is that
mi último comentario antes de las preguntas,
a revolution has been started, and I will continue in this revolution in music.
es que una revolución ha comenzado y yo voy a continuar con esta revolución en la música.
Are there any questions?
¿Preguntas?
Yo quería saber por un lado qué música influenció a tocar este tipo de música y por otro lado qué música tiene que ver con lo que él hace o qué música escucha habitualmente. O sea, ¿cuáles son las influencias y cuáles son los gustos?
What are your influences and tastes in music?
My influences started very early. All right, this is going to be a long answer, so just try it. Okay, because I want to really scan my brain. Meeting James Brown was very important to me. Let's see. Meeting Jimmy McGriff was very important to me.
James Brown, Jimmy McGriff.
Yes. Meeting, let's see. After that, I would say dance is very important to me.
La danza es muy importante para mí.
Very important. I first came to New York as a singer
Cuando llegué a Nueva York era cantante,
at the age of 17.
a los 17 años.
So there were a lot of singers that were important to me also.
También hubo muchos cantantes que fueron importantes. para mí.
Meeting the Isley Brothers was very important to
Los
me.
Isley Brothers para mí fueron muy importantes.
Let's think. Then I moved up to Cannonball Adderley, the John Coltrane, Miles Davis, the great Elvin Jones, Tony Williams, let's say, Larry Young, Herbie Hancock. And when I must say, when I saw Jimi Hendrix, my mind was blown, literally blown.
Cuando vi a Jimi Hendrix se le partió la cabeza.
I will never forget that particularly.
Nunca lo voy a olvidar.
After that, I ran into Sonny Simmons Barbara
Sonny Simmons.
Donald, Sonny Sharrock,
Sonny Sharrock, Burt McDonald,
Milford Graves,
Milford Graves,
the great Sonny Murray.
Sonny Murray.
Yes, and the list goes on and on.
Y la lista continúa.
After that, some of the influences included studying Stockhausen,
Algunas de las influencias también más tarde incluyeron estudiar Stockhausen,
Perez,
parece,
Alban Berg,
Alban Berg,
in conjunction with Andrew Hill,
en conjunción con Andrew Hill.
and the great. And when he dies, I must say, I don't know what's going to happen to this instrument, Cecil Taylor.
Y Cecil Taylor.
I bring these things to you because you may have never heard of me, and you may have never heard of them.
Les digo estas cosas porque probablemente nunca hayan escuchado mi música, pero tampoco la de ellos.
Pero it is time for us all to do our homework.
Pero es tiempo de hacer los deberes.
That's my influences, as well as Butoh dance and Goethe's formula of painting and things like that. But I really feel, but I don't want to. There's so many, especially in New York.
Underground en Nueva York que son tantas que no quiere dejar a ninguno.
There's so many. I mean,
fuera.
And they're all friends of mine.
Son todos amigos míos.
And I can't think of them all at this time.
No puedo pensar en todos ellos ahora.
That's a good question. I can come back to it, right?
Después por ahí la puedo contestar. Más
Can I come
tarde.
back to it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to center more on drums, and I want to center more on free music, because I brought a record here, and I have some CDs for you, and I want to see if you would like them afterward.
Traje algunos discos y que me gustaría que si los quieren ver más tarde.
The two recent ones are Clouds with Lee Ronaldo, William Hooker, Johnny Gebbia, and Jim O'Rourke. And the other one is the William Hooker Billy Bang duo, which is from Silkheart in Sweden. And it's very important to me because on the cover of, on the front of this record, they say out and out, this is the new American jazz. And the people that are on it, are on this label, are Charles Gale, myself, David S. Ware, Matthew Shipp, William Parker. We actually represent something here, and I want you to realize that this is a new American jazz is being created.
En este momento hay un nuevo jazz americano que está siendo creado con él, Charles Gale, David Ware, y otros con los que toca. Los dos discos que trajo es uno con Lee y con el músico italiano Gebbia, de apellido, y Jim O'Rourke. Y el otro es
Con Billy Bang.
es un dúo con Billy Bang.
Billy Bang, yes. But I say that because that's fresh in my mind, because this is something I want to get across to you.
Esto es algo que quiero hacerles llegar.
I want to inspire you with this,
Quiero inspirarlos con esto,
if it's available to you.
si está disponible para ustedes.
some samples. That's just some samples, more than specifically trying to play a piece here today.
Eso fue más que nada un muestreo, más que tocar una pieza, propiamente dicho.
I know a lot of you are music students here.
Sé que muchos de ustedes
Yes or
son
no?
estudiantes de música.
How many here are going to the school?
¿Cuántos aquí van a la escuela?
Okay, and some of you are studying music composition,
Algunos están estudiando composición
and some of you are studying recording techniques, maybe?
o técnicas de
Studio
grabación.
techniques, quite a few, actually. The recording studio, to some degree, is the one of the predominant instruments of the current age of music making.
El estudio de grabación es uno de los
It wasn't an option
instrumentos
for Bach or Beethoven to use a recording studio as their instrument. They had to use an orchestra. But we have different means today to make music.
El estudio es uno de los instrumentos más importantes en esta edad de la música, no accesible en la época de Bach o Beethoven, quienes usaban orquestas.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about how we got to the place we're in right now. How I know some of you may be familiar with my work with Sonic Youth and a little bit of that kind of music, but how did we get to this place right now where in the 20th century where music is where it stands today?
Quisiera, muchos conocen mi trabajo con Sonic Youth, pero quisiera que habláramos un poco de la música a esta altura del siglo.
I mean, I think music is in a very healthy place right now, very, very creative and experimental time to be working in the world of music.
Creo que es un momento muy saludable para la música, especialmente para la música experimental.
And for those of you who are studying music as a instrumentalist or hoping to make your profession in music, I think it's interesting to look at the 20th century as an overall picture and see where music has come through this century, because it's been a century of great evolution in music.
Y para aquellos que están estudiando música o composición, estaría bueno que vean al siglo XX todo como un periodo muy evolutivo de la historia de la música.
I mean, if you take this, I was hoping there'd be a board here to draw some pictures on, because I was thinking about the 20th century and starting in the beginning of this century, coming out of the 19th century, you still had music pretty much in the hands of the classical music makers. And as you moved into the 20th century, all of a sudden a whole variety of interesting techniques to approaching music became existent, almost sorry, almost concurrent with the idea of the rise of an industrialized cities.
Dice que la música hasta el siglo XIX venía de todo lenguaje desarrollado por los compositores clásicos, pero a partir del comienzo del siglo XX en adelante hubo muchos cambios muy interesantes.
So for instance, in the early part of right as the century changed, you had people coming out of the classical discipline, like someone like Erik Satie, who was an experimental composer for piano, yet friends with Debussy and Ravel and people like that, and yet he was attempting to do things with repetitive looping of piano scores that was very, very avant-garde for the time.
Por ejemplo, está Erik Satie, que era amigo de Debussy y de Ravel, empezó, digamos, por un lado tenía todo el background clásico, pero también hacía piezas con loops repetitivos para varios pianos.
A little bit further ahead in time, you have the Italian futurists, who were really the first people to try and make an electronic music. They were really influenced by the fact that they lived in a big chaotic city, and they were trying to figure out how to translate it into music in a new way. And they built crazy machines that they called intonamori, that there's hardly any recordings of them, but they were among the first machines that led to the development of, say, synthesizers and really typical electronic music in a way.
Después estuvieron los futuristas italianos que construyeron los primeros instrumentos electrónicos. Ellos vivían así como en una ciudad caótica. Which city was?
It was in Italy. I'm not even sure.
No sé.
Rome, maybe. I'm not sure which city.
Probablemente Roma, y querían traducir eso a su música. Entonces comenzaron a inventar instrumentos electrónicos.
You know, and I mean, I'm going to jump around a little bit just for time constraints, but if you move through the century, you see people working in more classic traditions, and you know, you have Olivier Messiaen and people of his you know, experimental mind that then lead to the first generation of true electronic composers. You have Varese and the Frenchman Pierre Schaeffer and Pierre Henry, and going right up to John Cage and Karl-Heinz Stockhausen and Boulez in the 50s, who were really working with electronic music.
Está Olivier Messiaen, que empezó, digamos, a trabajar mínimamente con electrónica, y esto dio paso también a la aparición de Stockhausen y, bueno, finalmente John Cage. Pierre Schaeffer y Pierre Henry.
Yeah. There's a lot of music in that mid-period, like from the 30s to the 60s, that I would definitely urge you to go out and explore, whether your main interest is in rock music or jazz or whatever's happening today. There's no doubt that a lot of things that were happening then with those composers and
hay mucha música interesante entre los años 30 y 60 de este siglo que les, si quieren, pueden chequearla, les va a traer muchas ideas.
You know, there are other composers trying to use the orchestra in very radical experimental ways, from people like George Anti, who created the Ballet Mécanique, which was a mechanical symphony using orchestra and noise-making devices for a film by Man Ray. Was it Man Ray? And composers from the 50s and 60s like Grigori Ligeti from Hungary, or Christoph Penderecki, whose music some of you may be familiar with because it's used in a lot of movies to very great effect. In 2001 and The Shining, they have crazy orchestras of voices all singing, you know, all kinds of crazy. They're trying to do things with orchestras and classical modes of music, you know, a chorus and an orchestra, that were really pushing the boundaries of what could be done.
Paso. Bueno, hablo de Georgi Ligeti y de Christoph Penderecki, que usaban la orquesta de manera muy radical. And the first composer?
Ligeti.
Ante.
George Ante.
George Ante, que tenía piezas para orquesta y instrumentos electrónicos.
Okay.
Now, you know, in the 50s, you also had the rise coming out of you had the rise of a really specific type of jazz music in America. Ornette Coleman and John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, Dizzy Gillespie, people that William was talking about as well. And I mean, their music, of course, didn't come out of a vacuum. It came out of Dixieland and Louis Armstrong and jazz music from the 30s. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is this idea of all these different kinds of music sort of existing simultaneously and sort of snowballing together in people's consciousness in a way. And
también está la música en los 50s, jazz a partir de los 50s, con gente como Ornette Coleman, bueno, Dizzy Gillespie anteriormente, y who else? Bueno, Coltrane.
Yeah, most of the names don't need translating.
Pero a la idea a la que quiere llegar es que todas estas músicas coexistían en el tiempo y creaban como una bola de nieve que...
And one of the main functions of music has always been as a means of communication on one hand, and on the other hand, a means of revolution. I mean, music was used to inspire people and to anger people in certain instances when there were injustices, and everything from, you know, African drumming and early slave songs right through the early days of rock and roll, where it was really used by young people in the 50s to start as a means of saying, hey, you know, things are changing, we're going to grab a new situation here. We're not going to look backwards, but we're going to look forwards.
El significado de esta música no era solamente de comunicación, sino también a veces de transmitir enojo o crear discrepancias. The last part, what you said?
Looking forwards instead of backwards.
Cuya idea era, digamos, mirar hacia adelante en vez de hacia atrás.
I want to build towards the late 70s in New York City, because that's really where my own personal experience comes in.
Él va a hablar de los tardíos 70s, que es de donde él viene.
Most of you know the history of the early days of rock and roll, of Elvis and Buddy Holly and, you know, the Beatles and the Stones and the whole thing.
Todos conocen la historia del rock and roll.
It led to a very interesting moment in New York City in the end of the 1970s.
Esto llevó a un momento muy interesante en Nueva York a finales de los 70.
Because in a lot of ways at that time, rock music was at an impasse in a way.
Porque de muchas maneras en ese momento la música rock estaba como en un impasse.
You had bands like big arena rock bands, Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd or whoever they were. I mean, some good, some not so good. But the music they were making was more and more full of sort of bombast, and it was less interesting to your average everyday musician trying to figure out how to fit into rock and roll, because most people couldn't see themselves in 4-inch heels on a stage in front of 20,000 people with a glittering Ziggy Stardust suit, basically.
Dice que la música de las grandes bandas de los años 70 hacia el final ya se tornaba como una cosa bombástica y más pensando en el espectáculo que en la música en sí misma.
I think it was a period when a lot of people interested in music dropped out of trying to play music, because it was hard to figure out what was happening to music at that time.
En ese momento mucha gente que tocaba música dejó de hacerlo porque no se sentían atraídos por lo que estaba ocurriendo en ese momento.
And yet at the same time it led to a rise of people that wanted to take back the main elements of what rock and roll was. And you had through the 1970s fledgling attempts toward that eventually led to the whole punk rock explosion. You had Patti Smith starting with poetry in small bookstores and adding a guitar player and moving into being a rock band. You had all different sorts of people working through the 70s to change the shape of rock and roll music and to take it back to the simplest elements of it. I mean, what rock music is about, beats, and it's about a rhythmic element, and it's about a certain sort of sentiment that comes through the words.
Pero al mismo tiempo surgió otro grupo de gente que quería cambiar un poco la cosa y volver a los elementos más primitivos del rock and roll. Y ahí, tenemos toda la revolución del punk rock, con Patti Smith metiendo poesía en sus presentaciones y volviendo al elemento más primitivo y de grito que tiene el rock.
So you had this very interesting situation in New York in the late 70s where people were where you had artists from various disciplines, painters, writers, actors from the theater, and people from the music world, trying to distill rock and roll to very basic elements. What is the beat? You had some bands like, I'm going to get ahead of myself here, but you had some bands where for the beat they just had one drum. Okay, that's all you need for the beat. You need a drum and a stick, and you have the beat. For a guitar, you just need certain basic sounds. You don't need a whole range of technical ability in order to put a few things together into something meaningful. I think that's the basis of it, is that the punk rock movement and the movement that was happening in the late 70s, especially in New York and London and a few other places, was about the fact that you didn't need to be technically very expert in order to make meaningful music.
Bueno.
That's the part of it.
A partir de ese momento también esta gente empezó a interactuar con gente de otras disciplinas, como teatro, danza, poesía, pero también se acentuó mucho la cosa de volver al elemento simple, que realmente para tener un ritmo simplemente hace falta un palillo y un tambor o un instrumento de cuerda para emitir un sonido. Y eso hizo volver la cosa como al gesto más primitivo que tuvo el rock en sus comienzos.
So you had these very interesting movements in the late 70s in New York, the no wave movement, where people that were trying to do that very thing in a sort of a pop and rock and roll vein. And then you had this other group called, did I say no wave or new wave? I meant the new wave. And like Talking Heads and Television and the Ramones and Richard Hell and the Voidoids, people like that. I'm just going to roll through this whole thing. And you also had at the same time this other group of people that they called the no-wave musicians, which were very obscure bands by those standards. The Contortions, Teenage Jesus and the Jerks, DNA, which featured a man named Ardo Lindsay that was here at Experimenta last year, maybe?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Mars, and a bunch of other things. You had composers that were trying to bridge classical and rock, like Glenn Branca, whose orchestra I played in, and Thurston Moore also, like an orchestra of 10 electric guitars. And Rhys Chatham, other people like that, standing side by side with more classical composers like Philip Glass and Steve Reich. And it was a very interesting mixture happening at that moment in New York.
Dice que por un lado estaban los grupos de lo que se llamó la New Wave, como los Talking Heads, Richard, and the Boybots, Blondie, etc., que trataban de poner esto en un contexto de música pop, estos sonidos en un contexto de música pop, pero que por otro lado también estaba lo que se llamó el movimiento de la No Wave, donde estaba DNA, en donde tocaba Arto Lindsay, which were the other groups?
Contortions, DNA, Mars. So, you know, those groups were taking rock down to its basic elements. They couldn't play at all, but they knew what rock and roll was. They knew what the concept of the music was. So they were just picking up a guitar, whether it was tuned properly or not. And ow, whoa, it's a little shock here between the two. And that's the electricity that William was talking about. And you know, they were just making really primitive a music as possible, and it had a certain great intensity because of it. And you know, on the larger world format, you had the Sex Pistols and bands that really became famous. You also had these smaller bands doing it more in the context of artists trying to create a certain kind of music, you know. William's not a no-wave player. Maybe Leah could do it. You know, you had people like Glenn Branca that were taking 12 guitars and approaching it as though he was Gustav Mahler or something like that. He was a composer, but he was working for electric guitars. So he would have each guitar tune all the strings to one note. Now, I still play a guitar that has multiple copies of the same notes on the strings. For instance, let me turn this down a little.
Dice que emergió un compositor llamado Glenn Branca que tenía como orquestas de 10 o 12 guitarras y él las tomaba así con el concepto orquestal, digamos, más clásico, y de repente tenía las guitarras con las 6 cuerdas afinadas en la misma nota, que eso es un concepto que él continúa hasta ahora. Tiene así pares de cuerdas afinadas en la misma nota.
I mean, I still play a guitar that has, you know, the same note. Again, so these two are the same also. Glenn would have a whole guitar with one note, 6 strings tuned to one note. High E, maybe. This whole guitar like that. Another whole guitar in a different note. So the guitars would function as bass, baritone, soprano, tenor, alto, and
dice que por ahí tenía una sección de una guitarra afinada con todas las cuerdas en mi, y por ahí otra afinada con todas las cuerdas más bajas, y eso funcionaba en los distintos registros, ¿no? Tenor, alto, barítono.
Another thing that Glenn was doing that we were experimenting with at the same time, he did it more formally, was that very thing of tuning guitars in non-standard tuning.
Otra cosa que hizo él fue, que después ellos continuaron, fue afinar las guitarras en afinaciones no estándar.
Now, it's not an unusual thing. Slide guitarists and blues guitarists from way back have often tuned their instruments to open tunings because it makes it easier to play.
Esto no es algo nuevo. Guitarristas de blues, por ejemplo, afinaban sus guitarras con afinación abierta. Desde hacía
famous
varias
examples
décadas.
from the 60s are like Keith Richards, for instance, always plays in an open
también.
tuning, or Joni Mitchell, or David Crosby. But you go back before them and you have Reverend Gary Davis and lots and lots of different blues players playing in open tuning. So this is particularly an open tuning. It's a G tuning of some sort.
Es una especie de afinación en sol.
And what happened for Sonic Youth was once we started adopting open tunings, we were able to look at a path in front of us that had no none of the standard cliches applied anymore. If you pick up a guitar or whatever your instrument is, if you pick up a guitar and approach it in a very normal way, you're stuck playing, Clapton's Last Lick or whatever it is,
Dice que con Sonic Youth, cuando encontraron esto de las afinaciones, encontraron como un camino a seguir. Y el tema de cuando uno, digamos, toca en afinación estándar, es como que empieza a tocar sus licks. Al cambiar la afinación, las notas no están más ahí, entonces tiene uno que hacer algo con eso.
So what happened for us was, because we started playing with guitars in strange tunings, what we were more thinking of was the sound that was coming out, and not trying to work off past cliches that we knew from learning how to play the guitar or whatever. So suddenly you have to invent your own chords. You just have to start putting your fingers down and figuring out the chords, and you get some strange tonalities. You're mostly playing by listening more than anything else. You're listening to the sounds coming out and responding to them and reacting.
De esta manera uno puede como escuchar más el sonido que viene y tratar de hacer algo con eso, responder, crear de alguna manera.
I'm not sure where I want to go from here. A whole history developed out of this. Sonic Youth's music came directly out of the new wave artists and the no wave artists that were trying to do new things with music, trying to take music and look forward towards what the future could be, rather than say, well, wow, I really wish I'd love to be in a band that played and sounded just like the Rolling Stones or just like Elvis Presley or Buddy Holly. I mean, that's fine on a certain level, but it's not pushing music into the future.
Dice que Sonic Youth tomó esos conceptos de la New Wave, de la No Wave, de mirar la música hacia adelante, en vez de aprender, digamos, hacer una banda que suene como los Rolling Stones.
And it's not just applicable to rock music. William mentioned Cecil Taylor, one of the great pianists of our time. And here's someone who really, he didn't want to play like the pianists he grew up listening to. He wanted to contribute something towards the future of music, in a sense, and really just be as radical as possible, because sometimes the more freaked out or radical you try and be, the easier it is to get someplace new, rather than trying to follow in the traditional path. I think sometimes it's a very interesting avenue to approach.
William habló antes de Cecil Taylor, y él es alguien, por ejemplo, que miró hacia adelante con su música, trató de no tocar las cosas que había hecho la gente antes que él. Y bueno, ese es lo que ellos intentaron hacer con Sonic Youth.
Everybody knows what happened to the music industry in the wake of Nirvana's success, that all of a sudden music that was very radical could at the same time be very popular.
Bueno, con lo que ocurrió con Nirvana, hubo como una especie de revolución en la industria discográfica, donde de repente algo que era muy oscuro pasó al mainstream de la noche a la mañana.
But what's happened now, and what I find very interesting about the situation with music right now, is that now that Nirvana's sort of, well in the past, there's a lot of the underground scene around the world, we're discovering, is very strong again.
Después de la desaparición de Nirvana, quedó como una escena underground que ahora es muy fuerte y que realmente es productiva.
But where before every band that you saw or that you knew was trying to be the next sort of like indie rock sensation or whatever, trying to write pop songs or something like that, now you have young people around the globe drawing from a much bigger musical pool.
Dice que antes de eso la gente es como que sacaba cosas de un espacio muy cerrado. Ahora, con este nuevo movimiento, es como que la gente tiene unas influencias más diversas en general.
So you have we're finding around the world there's the most interesting music being made right now, and I'm not just talking in the idiom of rock and roll, although that's obviously where I'm coming from. You're finding young musicians trying to make compositions, whether it be electronic. You have all this electronica and ambient music, and the DJ culture, which has led to another introduction of basically a new instrument, the turntable, as a musical instrument. You have people drawing from 50s you know, normally in music, you find that people tend to only look back 10 or 20 years for inspiration. So you have people in the 80s looking at the 60s and people in the 90s looking at the 70s or something like that. But all of a sudden we're finding that people are looking at the whole scope of music, looking into world music, and you know, something that really interests me a lot is gamelan music from Indonesia, and trying to figure out the ways in which that music applies to what I do with rock and roll. But you have people working with synthesizers, listening to Stockhausen and Varese and early electronic composers, and trying to incorporate it with their love of, you know, of rock and roll culture and of free jazz, people like Coltrane and Miles. And it's making for a very interesting time, I think, right now musically, because people are drawing from all different sorts of sources and trying to create something new out of it.
Bueno, dice que esta como nueva revolución incluye a la gente que está haciendo música electrónica, toda la cultura ambient y de DJs, la emergencia de la bandeja giradiscos como un nuevo instrumento musical, y la gente tomando música de más diversas influencias, gente haciendo música electrónica que toma cosas de Stockhausen.
I did want to talk for a moment for those of you who are here who are doing work as recording engineers and working in the recording studios here. In the last 2 years or so, Sonic Youth, we have our own studio now. We bought a bunch of really good old gear from the 70s. It's not digital equipment, but older analog equipment.
Quería hablar un poco a los estudiantes de grabación, de técnicas de grabación. Sonic Youth desde hace un par de años tiene su propio estudio, donde más que nada trabajan con procesadores análogos, no es digital.
We know about composers from the 50s that used the recording studio as a tool, and the famous electronic music workshops that grew up, say, in Cologne, in Germany, and in Paris at IRCAM. And composers like Stockhausen and Cage and David Tudor were, you know, cutting pieces of tape and creating the kind of compositions that you could never perform as a musician, or that you could never hear coming off an instrument. It was with synthesizers, and studio was the instrument in a way.
Estábamos al tanto de la gente que usaba el estudio de grabación como instrumento y que lograban cosas que no podrían salir de tocar en vivo con los instrumentos normales, cortando cintas y pegando y utilizando todo tipo de manipulaciones para con las cintas.
It's something that in the world of rock and roll, say, especially with the Beatles, this same notion of using the studio as an instrument to create things that a band could never go out and simply play began, you know, and it led various paths. Some paths led to a dead end of sort of getting so artificial that you didn't relate to it anymore.
Los Beatles son como un ejemplo de este tipo de técnicas aplicadas a la música pop.
Que dieron lugar a muchos caminos y pueden morir como una cosa muy artística. Música de la cama y que
I wanted to play a little something that is a mix that I'm working on right now. It's I did change the chords. You just have to turn on the sound for the CD player to come up, I think. How do we open it?
Eso como una grabación de Thurston Moore, él la llevó a su computadora y la editó.
You can turn it up a little bit.
Puedes subir un poquito.
And I do have a videotape here that was made some years ago. It's a documentary about Sonic Youth. It's about half an hour long. If anybody wants to stay around after we're done formally, we'll put it on the TV, and whoever wants to stay in the room can watch it if you want. So.
Bueno, dice que hay un documental de Sonic Youth que van a pasar en un rato. Una vez que hayan terminado, quien se quiera quedar puede verlo. Ahora van a... ahora si quieren hacer unas preguntas. Y después ellos van a tocar un rato y va a terminar el workshop.
Okay, preguntas. Any?
¿Qué pedales tenés ahí?
About the pedals. You must know about your pedals.
Well, I use he's asking about the effects pedals, and I use a variety of pedals. You know, I think of the pedals for a guitar player the way you would think of a palette for a painter. You know, they're tonal shapers in a way. So I've got some recently built things by, you know, young people that built them in their homes, you know, trying to start up little companies. Some old things from the 70s. I've got a ring modulator, which is something that was invented with synthesizers that changes.
Lo que va a demostrar ahora es el Ring Modulator, que es un pedal de la década del 70.
Hey, where is it? Well, now it doesn't want to play.
No, we don't.
You hear a lot of that in like computer sounds. I mean, it's just, you know, a lot of I use, since my work originally started with working in a recording studio making tape loops. I use a lot of pedals that can simulate that with digital effects.
Como yo empecé, digamos, haciendo ediciones de cinta, cortando cinta y pegándola, tengo un par de pedales que emulan ese tipo de
Yeah, they're very, very common things. You know, here's a 2-second delay pedal.
delay de 2 segundos.
Distortion box. The thing with any, whatever instrument you're talking about, the thing about technique, and I suppose technique includes such as these, is that it's not, you know, it's it's not how big your stick is, but it's what you can do with it, you know. So it's about the, you know, people were asking the other day as far as improvising musicians, you know, saying, well, it's not like you're working at all. You're going out there and you're just winging it, and there's no work involved. But the work is involved in shaping the sensibility, because that's what you respect in a performer. You respect something about their sensibility, what they're giving off. It doesn't sound like they're just, you know, wanking off on stage or whatever it is, but there's something thoughtful behind what they're trying to do.
Lo que él dijo es que no importa la cantidad de pedales, y esto él también lo considera una técnica, el hecho de tener, digamos, diversos instrumentos que modifiquen el sonido, sino lo que uno hace con ellos, la sensibilidad que le pone a eso y el resultado final que obtiene con eso.
¿Otras preguntas?
Quería saber cómo había sido, yo fui al show de ayer, cómo había
It was in the
organizado
show yesterday.
la estructura de lo que sonó, si tiene alguna estructura prepensada, si fue improvisado, si son zonas.
Did you structure it, or is it was all improvised?
El show de ayer.
The question is about the performance yesterday, whether how much of it was structured and how much of it is improvised. There's a degree of each going on. I mean, William and I sit down before the performance starts and make a structure. We carve the time up into blocks, 10 or 15 minute blocks, and we describe to each other what we want to see happen in those blocks, talking about dynamic levels and interaction, whether it's going to be a solo from him or me, or in the case of last night, whether I'm going to be reading or he's going to be reading. Also with Leah about what the film images will be in each block. And then within the blocks, there's a lot of places for free playing as well, where you're using your intuition in a sense and playing off each other right at the moment, creating.
Hay elementos de ambos. Él se sentó con William antes de comenzar y trazó como un esquema donde estaba dividido en partes de tiempo, y dentro de esas partes por ahí hablaban si alguno quedaba solo o cosas de dinámica, y por supuesto había espacios libres de improvisación en eso.
Yo quiero saber si puede nombrar 3 o 4 discos que hayan sido sumamente así influyentes en lo que él hace o que los cree imprescindibles.
Bueno, dice si puede nombrar 3 o 4 discos que cree influyentes en lo que hace. 3 or 4 records are influential to you.
It's hard to name just 3 or 4. I really like Stockhausen a lot for electronic composer, someone from the middle of this century that I think
Stockhausen.
Encapsulates an awful lot of what's going on. But at the other hand, same period, you have John Coltrane, a giant, a giant of music whose work I've been studying more and more at the moment. Current groups, there's a group from America that I really like called Pavement. They're really cool. We were talking about them in relation to Blur and English music last night. There's a young band of women from the Northwest called Sleater Kinney. They're kind of like a Riot Girl punk band. They're really, really good. There's a band from San Francisco that's called Fuck, that are really, really excellent band of composers that are working in rock and roll format right now. I mean, one of the nicest things that's happened in the last 20 years in rock and roll is there's been a lot more bands with girls in them.
Una cosa que pasó en el rock and roll en los últimos 20 años.
And at a certain point, it's nice to see the level of work coming from both men and women, rather than always men up on stage, playing the big important role. It's really important, I think, that there be more women involved, and it also makes it more fun interacting when there are.
Para él fue muy importante la desmasculinización del rock and roll, digamos.
¿Cuáles son los límites para la improvisación, si cree que existen, y si alguna vez vio la paciencia del público o de parte del público como un límite?
Which are the limits within improvisation, and what do you think of the limits of the patience of the audience?
Well, I think the limits of the patience of the audience is something you have to be really attuned to. I mean, for me personally, we live in New York where there's thousands of acts to go see every single night, and you find that you're really interested, but you're not really interested for 2 hours for each act in a way. I mean, there's a certain time frame that is more effective. I like shorter performances myself. We always find when we go and play in different places around the world that most people like longer performances. Sometimes longer performances and improvisational work, to me, don't go together that well, because it can go on forever, and improvisational work depends on how well the people playing can shape the time they're using. And sometimes it can get out of hand and things can go on forever. So I personally like shorter performances. When I was talking about the no-wave groups, most of those groups would come on stage and play for 8 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes was a long, long set. But you didn't leave feeling like, they didn't play long enough, because it really wasn't about the quantity of time, but it was about the quality of the ideas and the music, really.
Dice que la paciencia del público es algo que hay que tener muy en cuenta. Y que él en general prefiere las performances de improvisación más bien cortas. A veces las largas se pueden tornar un poco pesadas, y que dice que, volviendo al tema de los grupos de No Wave, de repente sus presentaciones duraban 8 minutos, 10, 12, 20 era largo, ya, por ejemplo.
Yo quería saber cuál era la opinión de él, o si usaba la afinación en drop D.
Do you use drop D tuning, or what do you think? Drop D tuning.
Well, I use about 15 or 20 different tunings. Drop D tuning was one of the first ones I learned. This is for guitar players out there. I mean, nobody else really knows what you're talking about. But I started with it. It's a very simple and beautiful tuning to work off of. At this point, we don't have a scientific way that we work, and we're not trained musicians. I mean, Thurston and I both played piano when we were small, but we don't read music, and we don't talk about music in terms, in standard musical terms. We just talk about it by the way things sound. So we sit down with the guitar and just start strumming the strings and turning the pegs.
Dice que Drop D fue una de las primeras afinaciones que usó, que le encanta, pero que tiene como 15 o 20 afinaciones diferentes, y que lo que hacen con Thurston muchas veces es guiarse más que nada por el sonido, o sea, entran a mover la cuerda hasta que encuentran algo que les interesa.
Until we find something that sounds nice, and then you do it with each other. I'll play this, I'll try and figure out some chords. Someone else will listen to the sounds and try and, do something complementary. That's the way we work, at least.
Esa es la manera en la que trabaja.
Sí, yo les quería preguntar si nunca hicieron así experimentación tipo con sitar o instrumentos así de diferentes culturas.
Did you ever do experimentation with the sitar or other cultures?
A bit. I used to have a sitar that had electric pickups built into it in India, and we played with that a little bit. It's a very difficult instrument, though, so it was very hard to do anything serious with that instrument. But other kinds of stringed instruments and, other instruments. I mean, once, that's the nice thing. I mean, once you are at a point where you consider yourself a musician, it's not a great leap to sit down and at least make attempts at other instruments, because at that point you have an understanding of the concepts of music. So then it's just a matter of acquiring the basic skills, whether it be blowing through a reed or, finger positions on a piano or a guitar.
Dice que tenía una cítara hindú a la que le puso micrófonos y estuvieron experimentando un tiempo con eso, pero que, digamos, una vez que uno tiene la técnica básica dominada, lo más importante es el concepto de la música, y eso es en lo que ellos tratan de trabajar más que, digamos, la instrumentación sale sola a partir de eso.
We'll take one more and then we'll hit for a little bit.
¿Puedo preguntarla en inglés?
Así escuchamos todos la pregunta.
¿No puedes traducir la voz?
¿Cómo?
¿No puedes traducir la voz?
Preguntó en castellano.
Preguntó en castellano. Quiero preguntarle cuál es su objetivo con la música, qué es lo que trata de lograr.
What's your objective in music? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, what is the objective? I suppose the objective on a personal level is just to, you find something, whether it be in music. I mean, with us all here and with the other members of Sonic Youth and people that we associate with, you have a certain background training in music or in some form of arts or other. I mean, myself, I was a painting student when I was in university. And the idea is at a certain point you decide that what you're going to do with your life is try and work in a creative manner. And that's basically where it starts and stops. I mean, some people are lucky enough to be able to go on and like have ideas and be able to fulfill them. But the notion at this point is just to move into, just keep doing creative work. I mean, the three of us and the other members of Sonic Youth, we work in a lot of different areas. I mean, I'm still painting pictures, taking photographs, writing things down, working in music. So the idea is just to keep going forward. And at a certain point, ideas transfer from one discipline to the other because you're really working in the world of ideas, and it's just different mediums that you're putting it out in. Anybody that wants to escape, escape, and then we'll put the video up.
Чего ты